Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the Meridian Speedway practice crit. This was a group ride that ended with the 15-minute-ish practice crit. It was put together by the local race organizers in order to help the beginners just learn how to race crits from more experienced riders like ourselves. I was asked to come give some tips on sprinting as well as film it so that everyone can go back and re-watch what happened. And with me today I have Klaus Tufta, who's been training with me the whole winter, and the goal is for him to do what I did last year, just going through the category system of USAC and getting points and all that kind of stuff. So before we get started, Klaus, what was your goal on this one?
I was working on my, the
slingshot. Slingshot.
That's what I was working on, and I was trying to see if I'm a rider up the front.
Trying to figure out if you could do breakaways.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I had a camera on my bike, Klaus had one on his, and we'll just be jumping back and forth to kind of like show what was going on. So we ended up doing 24 laps in this it's a very fast course, very short, and it was literally a car racetrack. So it literally looked like a track cycling type of track. I started really hard just because why not, I didn't want it to start, when a race starts and everyone's just looking at each other. I didn't want that, so I was like, I'll just put one lap hard and see what happens, which obviously split everything up. Most people weren't ready, but then we end up regrouping. Here you're basically, it seems like you're just like going back looking for the wheels, putting some solid power until we do just kind of on lap 2 kind of tone it down a little bit. But what were you thinking at this point?
Clipping in.
2 laps in. There should be one more guy behind you, and then we got basically split into 2 groups of 3 as you were catching up to that second group as they are catching up to us. I mean, I did not know how it was split at this point. I feel like if I did, I probably would have gone a little harder to make that little group stick, but So also, the people in this group, most of them already do crits. I'd say most are Cat 4. And then the guy in blue and the guy in white are the 2 beginners that had never done anything like this before, that we were just trying to help. So you'll probably hear me or another more experienced rider yell out to them, do this, don't do that. I think I told this guy in white to hide from the wind a couple times when he was pulling and didn't need to. So there goes Jeff, who is Cat 4, 3?
Yeah,
4. But he's strong, so I think I said something like chase him just out loud because he could keep going if he wanted to. And so I just went to the back to chill.
Yeah, this is the headwind section right here.
Right.
And I decided to go.
You were bridging at that point because you spiked. You didn't just, which is good. If you're trying to bridge, you should put in solid power so that you don't bring anyone with you. But yeah, and it worked. You caught up, he didn't drop, and then you brought just one guy with you, so you guys did get a break going. And you were saying it wasn't, you weren't able to pull off breakaways, but I mean, I would say that's a successful breakaway. It's just
maybe I'm doing it wrong.
I just think you guys weren't working well together.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you're not doing anything wrong. 300 watts at the front, totally fine. You see, I'm doing no work because, like I said, or I mentioned earlier, tailwind right here, so I'm just gonna bridge, because we said in the headwind section, it could be very hard to do that. So I put in 800-ish watts, which isn't crazy, but it's enough to just bridge this 5-second. More or less 5-second gap, and then there's 4 of us with 2 or 3 behind. There's a small group, obviously a practice crit, but I think it's enough to show these kinds of things. We skip ahead here 4 laps because for 4 laps we kind of just rotated, didn't do a very good job as a breakaway. The other 2-3 guys caught up, and then we're just chatting and just playing mind games, I guess. And then
Gone.
What happens next?
I'm gone!
I go for it.
Having too much fun.
I think it's a good attack. Like, you didn't go too deep, but everyone was going so slow that it was enough of a difference to put a solid gap on everyone. And then you're going 400 watts, which is very solid to just slowly grow that gap. And then you're waiting for someone to join. Yeah, 200 watts ish.
Yeah, I was waiting for someone to come and pull through, but then there goes Jeff.
Which he did a great job with closing that gap by himself. He put in enough power so that he wouldn't just drag the whole group along. And he got to you.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wanted to see, try things out right now. And that's the best way.
Right. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
But I think he made a mistake there by just blowing past you. I mean, we're halfway here, so it would have been way smarter of him to hop on your wheel, maybe get 2 seconds of rest, and then go around instead of just blowing past. And now while we're slowly closing the gap, you're also slowly closing the gap to him. And then boom, I decide to...
Drop the hammer.
Well, it was more so to join the breakaway, do what Jeff did to get to you, and then you caught up to him, I catch up to you. And at this point, it's a good breakaway. Like, 3 guys versus 3 or 4 in the back. It's good. Like, I don't blow past. I just kind of go to the front, and Jeff tags along. And then you're on Jeff's wheel, but 10 laps to go. I mean, were you just too tired to hang on to Jeff's wheel? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard because you got only we're 8 dudes.
Yeah.
And you got no shelter, so it's constantly either being up front or behind someone, but you're still eating wind, so
right,
you're not protected as.
And I think it's also different. Like, you're taller, you get more wind than I would get.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit silly, but it does make a difference. But then it's this, like, we were talking about this, and I think it's what we are trying to work on with you, is you're doing this elastic band situation where you're putting 600 watts, but you're not closing the gap, and then you go back to 200, back up to 500 for like 2 seconds, and it's never enough to close that gap. So it seems like what we're figuring out is that in those situations, you need to just put in
that's
600 plus.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
So what I do is I see you guys, so then I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. I go for it. I see that I'm closing the gap, so then
right. Ease down.
Then I'm gonna ease up, and then I see the wheel going again, and I'm like, so I should go hard until I catch up, and then just chill on
and then
the
ease
back.
up, because you could be behind us doing 150 watts. It's just getting there.
That's exactly what's on my mind,
right.
But I'm not,
so
acting
then
on it.
These guys catch you, which is great for you, because now you can rest behind them, even though you put in like 400 or 500 to hop on the wheel, but now you're able to do just over 100, stop pedaling even, and rest a little bit. Our gap isn't huge, with 8 laps to go, we're kind of right there. So if something were to happen, either someone could close the gap or everyone could just catch up. But then something interesting happens. Jeff here, he goes pretty hard. Like, this one lap puts a dig. It's not an attack. He just goes to the front hard. And I was like, all right, I guess he's trying to make it stick. So I was preparing to do my part. And after him doing this for 1 lap, me go to the front and do it for a lap. And then, him goes and just trying to do that as a breakaway. But here, as we get to this next lap, I go to the front to do that. And I really never see him again. I don't understand exactly what happened. It wouldn't have been my choice to just go off the front alone. I didn't try to go off the front alone. I was doing 300 watts. But as you guys can see here on the left, he opens a gap, and you guys are closing the gap to him. You're literally doing more power than I was doing at the front.
Yeah, that's weird looking at the numbers and seeing that.
At the end of the day, it's just, I think, consistency, because, again...
What is it? Smooth is fast? No, slow, smooth
is fast.
NorCal Cycling.
Exactly.
We're on you. We're watching you guys.
But it's true though. Like
Yeah, 100%.
if you would have, you're like 2 bike lengths behind this guy. You're just wasting energy.
Yeah.
And that guy's a Cat 5 who does not train as much as you do. Yeah, I bet your average power is way higher than either of those guys. Just because they're resting by working together.
Yeah, that's the thing. I know I got the power. I just don't have the tactics, or
That's what we're working on, man.
that's.
I mean,
what we need to work
here
on.
with 5 laps to go and out of a very short crit, you just gave up. But which is not your fault. So we skipped to the last lap here, and I'm catching you as I'm finishing the little practice crit. And just in case you decided to sprint, I also.
Well, I
sprint.
got.
You did get up, but anyways, I think that was really fun. And I think I enjoyed it just because we don't get to do this often, rather than just actual racing. But I mean, you got to learn from people watching this. Hopefully, learn something. But yeah, it was a great time. Thanks for everyone that watched this, making them comments, and hopefully it's only the first of many coming this year.